Ahoy! Welcome back to Monday Magic. Today's episode is a silly little deck, really fun to play. So let's get into it. The commander for this deck is Sakashima the Imposter, 2 blue for a 3/1 human rogue that says, as Sakashima the Imposter comes into play, you may choose a creature in play. If you do, Sakashima comes into play as a copy of that creature, except its name is still Sakashima the Imposter, it's still legendary, and it gains the ability pay 2 and 2 blue to return it to its owner's hand at the end of turn. Notably on this card and a lot of the cards that you'll see in the deck, it says choose a creature in play. That doesn't target, so it will get around things like Ward, Hexproof and Shroud. So the whole idea of the deck, as you'll see, is to copy everyone else's board. Now, the reason that I really enjoy playing this deck is it never plays the same twice, because on its own, it really doesn't do a great amount. It's all copy stuff, and the idea is to copy stuff from each of your opponents. It's really fun to play. You can sort of mix and match the best of the best from around the table. If you're playing at a lower power level with people playing precons, you can match it to that. It will automatically match itself to whichever table that you're playing at because you're using their cards. The reason that I've chosen to do copy instead of steal is twofold. The first one is stealing can be a bit of a feels bad for other players at the table. They don't always enjoy it. It doesn't always make for a fun gaming experience. And secondly, if people are removed from the game, if you have stolen their cards when they are removed from the game, you lose access to all of those. Whereas if you've copied stuff that other people own, they are your cards, they are your permanents, so even if they leave the game, you can still use them, which is really handy. Let's take a look at the rest of the deck. So we'll start with the artifacts. Arcane Signet pretty much speaks for itself, as it always does. A Dino DNA is a 1-drop, it has imprint, pay 1, tap it, exile target creature card from a graveyard as a sorcery, and then you can pay 6 to make a token copy of a card that's been exiled with it, which is a 6/6. You can also only do that as a sorcery. This is good for a bit of targeted graveyard removal if people are recurring combo pieces and stuff like that. It's a way to get rid of stuff, and a fun way to try and copy permanents that other people have got in their graveyards. Extra planar lens is in here just for ramp. Notably, this does say whenever a land with the same name is tapped, so this will auto affect your opponent's lands, but we have a cheeky little way to try and get around that or try and reduce that, which I'll show you a bit later on. A Gauntlet of Power, again, just a way to ramp a bit in mono blue. It's just a way to make your lands tap for a little bit more. Imposter Mech enters as a copy of a creature, except it's a vehicle, so it can't be targeted for creature removal unless you crew it and make it into a creature, which is kind of fun, could be quite interesting. And then a Machine God Effigy enters the battlefield, a copy of any creature on the battlefield except it's an artifact. So like the Imposter Mech, this thing will come in but will not be a creature. So if someone's got a stack tick or an activated ability that you would like, and it's hard to sort of, well, it makes it so that you can copy those effects but not have the targeted removal, or make it harder for targeted removal because it's not a creature, it's just an artifact. The Mimic Vat, whenever a non-token creature dies, you can exile it again. You can use it as graveyard, a bit of graveyard hate if someone's repeatedly doing something over and over again, and then you can pay 3, tap it and make a token that's a copy. You can do this one at instant speed, notably, so if you've got something nasty under there, you can flash it out as a blocker. Mirage Mirror, pay 2, becomes a copy of target artifact, creature or enchantment until end of turn. Sapphire Medallion, it's just a way to make our spells cost a little bit less. Sculpting Steel can enter as a copy of any artifact on the battlefield. Soul Ring does Soul Ring things. And then onto the creatures, we have an Aboleth's Spawn. It is a 3 mana with Flash and Ward 2. Whenever a creature entering the battlefield under an opponent's control causes the triggered ability of that creature, you get to copy that. So if someone's got, I don't know, like whenever a creature enters, they gain a life, you can also copy that and also gain a life. You can get a lot of benefits from that. It's really good. Auton Soldier is a copy creature, but it can get around the legendary rule and gives the thing Myriad. So if you manage to copy something, it can be really good because you get attack triggers, you can get damage triggers, all sorts of fun stuff. Body Double, enters the battlefield to copy any graveyard. So if someone's playing a mill deck, someone's lost one of their key pieces, you can have a copy of that. Cephalid Face Taker, can't be blocked, and beginning of combat on your turn, you can have it become a copy of another target creature, except it's a 1/4 that can't be blocked. So again, if someone's got combat triggers, damage triggers, stuff like that, you can use this to get in. Clever Impersonator, copy of any non-land permanent, so you can have this as artifacts, as enchantments, as planeswalkers. There's some really fun stuff you can do with cards like this. Clone, enter as a copy of any creature. Copy Crook, you can have it enter the battlefield as a creature, except it has when it attacks it connives, so maybe a bit of card advantage there. Cryptoplasm, beginning of your upkeep, you may have it become a copy of another target creature that gains this ability. Fairy Artisans, it's flying. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. Then exile all other tokens created. It can make you some stuff with ETBs, interesting for making blockers at the start of turn and stuff like that. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Flash Duplicate is quite cheap in terms of mana cost, but it does enter with Vanishing 3. Which means that you're on a bit of a turn timer for keeping hold of that one. But if someone else is playing something with Proliferate, you can copy that, you can keep it around, or find a way to recur it from graveyard, stuff like that. Gigantoplasm. Enter as a copy, but you can change its power and toughness. Could be quite interesting for some creatures and some synergies, I reckon. Identity Thief. Whenever it attacks, you may exile another target non-token creature. If you do, this becomes a copy of it until end of turn, and then return that card to the beginning of its to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step. So it's a good way to remove blockers and swing in for stuff, or get rid of a potentially harmful creature until the end of turn. Malleable Imposter, it's flash, flying, enters as a copy of a creature an opponent controls, except it's a fairy shapeshifter with flying. So if someone's got a nasty creature that you would like, you can have that, but also have it as flying, and you can flash it in at instant speed, which is pretty good. Mocking Doppelganger also has flash, enters as a copy, except it has other creatures with the same name as this creature are goaded. Now you can use this if someone's playing a Voltron, and then make sure that you're not going to be getting hit with that. Or you can have it so if someone's playing a load of tokens, a bit of like a token spam deck, an elf deck, something like that, loads of creatures with the same name, you can use this to essentially protect yourself from all of those tokens swinging at you because they are all goaded. Mockingbird. Enter as a copy of any creature on the battlefield with mana value less than or equal to the amount of mana spent to cast it, except as a bird that has flying, so it's pretty variable. Early game you can use it for a small creature, late game if you have extra mana you can copy pretty much anything you want. A Naga Fleshcrafter. You may have this creature enter as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, and you can pay 3 to exile it from your graveyard, put a +1/+1 counter on target non-legendary creature you control, and each other creature you control becomes a copy of that creature until end of turn. Activate only as a sorcery. I'm sure there's some really interesting things you could do with this to turn all of your creatures into one creature. It could be quite interesting. Again, all of these sort of depend on who else is at the table and what other people are playing. A Nascent Metamorph. When it attacks or blocks target opponent reveals cards from the top of their library until they reveal a creature, and then this becomes a copy of that card until end of turn. Then the rest of the cards go to the bottom. So again, you can sort of fish through other people's decks if you think someone's going to have a particularly nasty creature. You can use it for that. Or if someone's sort of, scrying a lot, trying to put stuff on top of their library, you could deliberately pick them and then fish through to try and make it so that they can't have the things that they've maybe put on top for their own turn. And then a Phyrexian Metamorph enters as a copy of any artifact or creature, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. Pirated Copy enters the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except it's a pirate, and it says whenever this creature or another creature with the same name deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. So again, if people are playing evasive creatures, you can copy one of those, or tokens. If someone's got 50 Scroot Swarms, you can have this come in as a copy of the Scroot Swarm, and then when your opponents are hitting people with it, you get to draw cards from that. Sakashima's Proteage. It's a 6 mana flash cascade. Enters as a copy of any permanent that enters the battlefield this turn. and you get another free thing off of it, another free copy essentially, for 6 mana. It's not bad. Sakusuma's Student is another copy effect, but it has ninjutsu. So if someone's got Blightsteel and you're just sending, for example, the creature before they said it can't be blocked, and then you pay 2, you enter as a copy of Blightsteel, whap someone for 11 poison damage, win-win. Stunt Double is Flash, enters as a copy of any creature. Undercover Operative enters a copy of any creature except it has a shield counter, so a bit of extra protection. Unstable Shapeshifter, whenever any creature comes into play, this becomes a copy of that until end of turn with this ability. So it's just constantly changing to different things. Pretty fun to try and keep up with what's going on there. A Vesuvian Shapeshifter, when it enters or is turned face up, you may choose another creature on the battlefield. If you do, until it is turned face down, it becomes a copy of that creature, except it has at the beginning of your upkeep, you may turn this creature face down. It has Morph for 2. Now, I might be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure Morph is a special action. So if someone's got something on the stack with Split Second, you can't activate abilities, you can't cast spells, but you can use special actions like Morph. So it could come in clutch for really sort of fringe scenarios, or just to sort of get people out of nowhere, and it has an inbuilt way to make it so that you can flip it back face down and then you can change it to something else should you need to. It's a really good card. Vizier of Many Faces enters as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except if this creature was embalmed. The token has no mana cost, is white, and is a zombie. So you can have this. If it dies, you can then embalm, which is a cast from graveyard essentially. So you get two chances with this one. And then Wall of Stolen Identity enters as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except it's a wall and has Defender. When you do tap the copied creature, it doesn't untap during its controller's untap step for as long as you control the wall. So a nice way to get rid of a problematic creature on an opponent's battlefield and have a copy of it for yourself as a nice big blocker. Also, again, a lot of these cards, you notice if it doesn't say the word target, it doesn't care about any sort of evasion, doesn't care about hexproof, doesn't care about shroud, doesn't care about ward. You're not targeting those, you're choosing them, which is a nice way to get around a lot of the protection that people tend to run these days. We'll move on to the enchantments. This one is called Copy Enchantment. I bet you can't guess what it does. Copy land. It could do absolutely anything. It's a really good job reading the card, explains the card. Court of Vantress. When it enters, you become the monarch. At the beginning of your upkeep, choose up to one other target enchantment or artifact. Notably, doesn't say that you control. If you're the monarch, you can make a token copy of it, and if you're not the monarch, you can have this become a copy of it. So just a good way, if you manage to sort of get around being hit, to get more enchantments, more artifacts onto your board. Followed Footsteps is an aura. It says at the beginning of your upkeep, put a token that's a copy of enchanted creature onto the battlefield. Auras don't have to go onto creatures you control. You could put this onto an opponent's creature, and then at the beginning of your upkeep, you're getting a copy of that. Kind of fun. Mechanized Production. Enchant artifact you control. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a token that's a copy of the enchanted artifact. Then if you have 8 or more artifacts with the same name as one another, you win the game. This is sort of quite a varied card. You can use it on, say, for example, your Soul Ring, and then every turn you're getting another Soul Ring, you're ramping, you've got more mana to spend. Or you can, if someone else at the table is playing a treasure deck and you've copied some of the stuff that they have to make treasures, you could put it onto a treasure, try and get back to your next turn, and have 8 or more treasures and just win the game. Nice little alternate win con in there. A Metamorphic Alteration. It's another aura. When it enters, choose creature. Enchanted creature is a copy of the chosen creature. So again, you could put this onto something of yours and make it a copy of something someone else controls, or you could put it onto an opponent's creature and have it just become a really boring 0/1 goat token, or whatever else is at the table. It's a way to remove threats or a way to improve your board. Quite versatile. A Mirror Mockery, 2 mana aura. Whenever enchanted creature attacks, you may put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of that creature. exile it at the end of combat. Really good for sort of ETB effects and stuff like that. And again, can be done on other people's creatures. So if someone else is constantly swinging with something, you can have a copy of that for a blocker for yourself, or for ETB triggers or attack triggers, stuff like that. Mirror Maid enters as a copy of any artifact or enchantment on the battlefield. And then the Shameless Charlatan is just a way to make it so that our commander can instantly swap to become a different creature whenever we want, for their only 3 mana. We'll move on to the instants for the deck. Number 1 is Elementus Simulacrum. For each opponent, you create a token that's a copy of up to 1 target creature that player controls. Again, instant speed. I know 6 mana is quite hefty. If we get lucky with copy and ramp effects and stuff like that, there's a chance that we can have plenty of mana towards the end of the game, and then we can just get the best thing from each opponent's board. A Fleeting Reflection is a bit of protection for something that we want to keep. It can also be used to untap a creature, so if we've swung with something that's a copy of something big, someone's like, you're open, we'll come and hit you. 2 mana, you can untap it, it gets hexproof, and you can have it become a copy of something else as well. A Ghostly Flicker, really good in this deck because most of the creatures, well, pretty much all of the creatures that are copies are on enters the battlefield. So you can exile 2 of them, return them to the battlefield, and have them as different creatures. Insidious Will, it's counterspell, a redirect, or you can copy target instant or sorcery spell and choose new targets for the copy. So again, quite versatile. Mostly we'd be using this to try and copy other people's good stuff, but if something's really, really bad, you can either counter it or redirect it. Mirror March, cast it only during the declare blocker's step. For each creature attacking you or a planeswalker you control, put a token that's a copy of that creature onto the battlefield, blocking that creature, exile them. So someone send in 10 3/3s at you, you drop 6 mana, they can't get through to you, they lose all of their attackers. Because their 3/3s will match for their 3/3s. It's good, it's I guess almost like a pseudo fog effect. But you can also use it to remove people swinging at you. If someone's going really wide, or if someone's going really big with a 12-12, 20-20, whatever it is, as long as its power and toughness are equal, you can use this to basically get rid of that attacker or stop the damage going through. It's really good. And then Mystic Reflection, this is one of my favourite cards. It's such an incredible effect. It says choose target non-legendary creature. The next time 1 or more creatures or planeswalker enter the battlefield this turn, they enter as copies of the chosen creature, and it also has Foretell. So on your turn, you can pay 2, whack it face down in exile, and then for 1 blue mana, you can whip this out. This thing has put in so much work. One of the other people that play at my table quite regularly is massive on going wide, making hundreds upon hundreds of tokens, and they were about to drop, I think it was something ridiculous like 500 tokens onto the table of some nasty flying attacker, and I managed to just want this out and change it to a creature that says when this creature enters the battlefield you draw a card. So he then got 500 of those, decked himself out, all for 2 or 3 mana, depending on whether it's foretold or not. It's so versatile. You can use it as a form of removal if someone's about to have something really big enter, or if someone's about to recur the whole graveyard. It's just incredible. Really, really good card. Narcissus Reversal. Copy target instant sorcery spell, return it to its owner's hand. You can choose new targets for the copy. Just, again, nice and versatile. You can use it to copy something that's good. Someone goes Tef's Pro, I'm out of here. You go, you know what? Good idea. I will also do that. Reenact the Crime. 4 mana, exile target non-land card in a graveyard that was put there from anywhere this turn, and then you can copy it and cast it without paying. So any sort of, instant source, anything that's not a land, basically, if it goes into the graveyard either from the battlefield, from someone's hand, if they discard it, if they mill it, doesn't matter how it got there, for 4 mana you can go, yeah, I'll have one of those actually, that's pretty good. C-Double, this spell can't be copied, choose one, and if the opponent has 8 or more cards in their graveyard you can choose both, so you can either copy a target spell or create a token that's a copy of target creature. Does everything that we want this deck to do, it's really good. Supplant Form. Return target creature to its owner's hand. You can put a token onto the battlefield as a copy of that creature. So it's removal and also an extra bonus for you. Theoretical duplication. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under an opponent's control this turn, you get a token that's a copy of it. And that's not just one creature or the next creature, that is every creature that's coming in. If someone plays mass graveyard recursion, they're getting all of the creatures from all graveyards onto the battlefield under their control. You plot this out for 3 mana and you go, yeah, me too, I'll have those, thanks, that's really good. Or if someone's storming off, they're getting loads and loads and loads of creatures out of the hand. Green Stompy doing Green Stompy. Again, kind of versatile, really, really good way to get some extra creatures from yourself. And then Twincast, copy target instant or sorcery spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. So if someone tries to remove something of yours, you can repay them in kind. If someone tries to counter one of your spells, you can Twincast, copy their counter spell, and then target their counter spell with your copy of their counter spell. Kind of fun. We'll move on to the lands now. So we have a Echoing Deeps, enters the battlefield tapped as a copy of any land card in any graveyard, except it's also a cave. So if someone's, I don't know, playing some sort of Gitrog deck where they're putting really good lands into their graveyard with a plan to recur them themselves, you can copy those. Mill decks, stuff like that. If there's anything interesting in the graveyards, you can have a copy of it. There's Mirror Pool, enters tapped, and you can pay 3, sacrifice it, copy target instant or sorcery spell that you control, choose new targets, or you can pay 5, tap it, create a token that's a copy of target creature you control. These, again, not restricted to timing, so you can use these in response. It's an extra way to sort of get extra copies of stuff if you needed it in a pinch. We are running 27 snow-covered islands in this deck, so the snow islands are there for a reason. Which I'll go into in a little bit more detail in a moment. A terrain generator, it's a colourless way to try and get a few extra basics. It's basically ramp. You can hold up some mana on your turn to flash in a creature or to use a bit of interaction. And if there's nothing that tickles your fancy by the time it gets around to your turn on the beginning of the player before you end the step, you just pay 2, tap that, pop another land into the play. Mono blue doesn't ramp particularly well. You're relying on card draw usually, not in this deck per se, to just try and make sure that you're hitting at least one land each turn, but this is a way to try and get ahead of the curve a little bit if we can. Thespian Stage, pay 2, tap it, becomes a copy of target land, except it has this ability. So if someone's got a Gaia's Cradle, if someone's got one of those transforming lands that's got some really, really funky tech on it, you go, yeah, go on, I'll have a copy of those also, actually, thank you. Or you can use it on your own stuff if you were desperate for any mana or any effects. You can have a second terrain generator, I guess. And then Vesuva enters tapped as a copy of any land on the battlefield. So again, use it to copy your opponent's stuff, use it to copy your own stuff if you feel like you need it. So the reason that we have picked snow-covered islands is because of this extra planar lens. We're playing mono blue, we're only using islands as our land source apart from the other utilities. And if you look at the wording on extra planar lens, when it enters, exile target land you control, and then whenever a land with the same name is exiled, its controller adds 1 mana of any colour. So this isn't just for you, this is board-wide. So if you had basic islands that weren't snow-covered, everyone else's lands would be tapping for 2 blue rather than 1. Everyone else's islands, I should say, would be tapping for 2 rather than 1. Whereas if we run a complete suite of snow-covered islands, it has to have the same name. So a regular island will not tap for 2 mana, but a snow-covered island will. So it's just a way to try and swing the odds in your favour ever so slightly. Onto the sorceries for this deck. Clone Legion. 9 mana for each creature target player controls. You make a token that's a copy. Again, you're really running this for people that are going really wide, people that have got loads and loads of creatures that are really good, really worth pinching or copying. Realm Sketching, token that's a copy of any artifact, creature or land. It does target, so it doesn't get around the Hexproof Shroud, unfortunately, but you can also do lands with it, which is pretty fun. Rite of Replication, 4 mana, create a token, or you can kick it for an additional 5 and make 5 tokens instead. Sahil's Artistry. Choose one or both, create a token that's a copy of target artifact, or create a token that's a copy of target creature, except it's also an artifact. So I don't see why you wouldn't just have both of these and get as much value out of it as you could. Stolen Identity is create a token that's a copy of target artifact or creature, and it has Cipher, which is a weird mechanic that you don't really see very often. So you can cast this sorcery, and then you can exile it encoded to a creature you control. And basically what that means is it goes into exile, and then whenever the creature that you've ciphered it onto deals combat damage to a player, you can cast a copy of it for free without paying its mana cost. So if we have something with flying, something that can't be blocked, we put it onto that, and then every time that hits a player, we're getting another token copy of a target artifact or creature. And then, you know, stuff like double strike comes into play, or extra combats, depending on what's going around at the table, depending on what we can copy and how much value we can get out of it. You could be getting 2 to 4 tokens per turn each combat, which is pretty good. And then Will of the Teamer, choose one. If you control your commander, you can choose both. Create a token that's a copy of target permanent, except it's a 4/4. So again, any permanent at all. You can even pick land. You can put anything that's on the battlefield you can have. Or target player draws cards equal to the greatest mana value among permanents you control. Now with copies, token copies or copies of, they also copy the mana value. So if someone's playing something that's really high mana value and we have a copy of it because it's a permanent and not just a token, you will take into account those mana values. So it's a good way to potentially draw quite a few cards, as well as getting something that's a 4/4 flyer. So, you know, we could have a Planeswalker, for example, that is also a 4/4 flyer. Really, really weird sort of things that you can do with the copy effects that can target any permanent. Okay, and then with this deck being a bit of a silly mess around deck, it's not particularly serious, but it can put in quite a bit of work. Again, depends who you're playing against, depends what the other people are playing against, but as an extra little bit of fun for me and the people that I'm playing with, I bought myself a crappy little thermal printer, which I've got a picture of on here. It doesn't need ink, it just uses the thermal receipt paper. You take a picture and it will print off whatever you've taken a picture of in really, really poor quality. I just think it's really fun that whenever I'm copying people's permanents and stuff like that, I can take a bad photo of it, print it out, and have it on the battlefield to remind everyone what it is. You can see here Esper Sentinel, which you can barely read. It's almost illegible, but it's really fun. Extra little prop for the deck, just makes for a really fun play experience. And that's pretty much the whole deck, guys. Thank you very much. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider doing the engagement things. If there's anything else you want to see, if you have any deck suggestions, let me know. Any challenges that you think I might enjoy doing, whap it in the comments below. I really like this deck. It's so much fun to play. It's never the same twice. You're always just sort of cherry picking the best things at the table. So you don't really have a set win con, and that's something I really enjoy about this deck. It is just so much fun to play. I think the current price is running at about $200-ish. Might be able to get that a bit cheaper if you were to look at different printings. I've not really looked too much into it, or just proxy a deck. I don't see any issue with that, and particularly with this deck in particular, I think proxying it would be an additional sort of part of the theme. Yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Do the bits, and until next time, Monday out.